tell these folks your name. Emotional. I don't think they heard you, man. Emotional. Who's the best rapper around? Emotional. Who's the new killer in town?
What's going on, YouTube? I'm Emotional, aka you're something of sexy. You know where the best be. It's me, can't you see? I'm fresh and so clean. What's going on, y'all? We back at it for another Ren video. This is chapter 6 off of the Renmakesstuff channel. Now we did, of course, we've done all the other chapters. So if you missed them, I'm gonna just throw them all in a playlist and separate it from the Ren stuff too, so that if y'all want to watch the reactions for the different chapters, I'm gonna just drop them in that playlist because I feel like that'll just save time, and you know what I'm saying. But also, I'm assuming some of y'all came from the last Ren video we just did with him and Sam Tompkins, because the transition and everything, and yeah, because I told y'all I would drop this right after that. But anyway, we are here for chapter 6, so we about to go ahead and dive straight into it. Like, comment, subscribe. Now, baby, let's vibe, and I hope it ain't no more creepy therapists thinking that my dog made songs about them. No, he did not, ma'am. No, he did not. This is like it's about to get real, off rip.
I'm going to try and hold it together throughout this one.
It's good if you can't. It'd be like that.
2015 was the worst year of my life. At the end of 2014, I attended a private UK-based ME specialist clinic called Breakspear. For some reason, the treatments had sent my health nosediving, and I became more sick than I'd ever been.
Oh, Lord.
I became so weak that I couldn't walk to the bathroom without needing to lie on the floor to recover. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't watch TV. All I could do there was lie there in pain. It was obvious during this time that I needed to move back home with my mum again. She moved to Cardiff with a new husband, and they had a spare room, which became my tomb for the next 8 months. At this point, I was so weak that the most that I could manage to do a day was to take a shower. The rest of the time I was confined to my bed. I started reacting even more severely to foods, so every single meal had to be blended into soups or broths to avoid negative reactions. Pain constantly shot through my shin bones and through my feet, like splinters. My stomach would gurgle, and the muscles in my body would constantly twitch, spasm, and ache. My body felt drained of every single ounce of life, and I was so tired, but I was too wired to sleep. I was so full of mental fog that reading a single page on a book seemed impossible. The daylight coming in from behind the curtain hurt my eyes. Loud sounds felt overwhelming. All I could do was wait and pray for sleep, knowing that when I woke from it, nothing would change. I wouldn't feel in any way rested, and all the symptoms would persist. This went on and on and on. It was day after day of physical and mental torture. I thought of concentration camps, of prisoners of war being tortured. At least the escape of death seemed likely. During that time I never got breaks. My whole body burned, my brain was on fire, and I had nowhere to hide. In the merciful moments where I could concentrate, I tenaciously trawled the internet, looking for ways out. My research drew me to a procedure called a fecal transplant that was having success managing things like Crohn's disease or colitis. It had also gained success in some select cases of autoimmune conditions like MS too. At the time, I felt like much of my issues were caused by dysbiosis, which means an imbalance in your gut flora. I noticed that all the food intolerances started after a large course of antibiotics for the parasite. I wondered if the parasite had wreaked havoc on my microbiome before I nuked it with antibiotics that worsened it further. Fecal transplants can introduce a whole host of probiotic bacteria into your gut, and it can re-establish a healthy homeostasis. In normal person speak, I wanted to pay to put another person's poop in my butthole.
Whoa! That's a lot. That is a lot. That is a lot. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I got everything in order.
Before I nuked it with antibiotics that worsened it further. Fecal transplants can introduce a whole host of probiotic bacteria into your gut, and it can re-establish a healthy homeostasis. In normal person speak, I wanted to pay to put another person's poop in my butthole.
Tragic.
I carried on filming videos from my bed, blogging my experience. I was pretty convinced that during this time I wouldn't be alive much longer, and part of me wanted there to be some kind of document of what I'd been through in hopes that it might help someone later down the line.
And if this illness does kill me, then I want this video. I want somebody who can take notice of this video and do something with it.
I had a fundraiser open to save money for the fecal transplant, which was very slowly creeping up. I needed to save $6,000 in total. I remember my girlfriend wanting to come and visit, but telling her that I didn't want her to. There are a few reasons for this. One, I was pretty sure I was going to die soon. The day before Joe died, I'd been sat with him at a pub, catching up, playing pool, cracking jokes. I'd often wondered if I'd have been hit less hard by his death if I'd been away at university when it happened. For my girlfriend's sake, I wanted her to have distance from me.
Ladies, question. How would you feel if your boyfriend was going through this and he felt like how Ren did? Like, would you want to be there, or would you be glad that he kind of kept you away from it? Because it's one of them things, like, just as far as like just male, as just being a male, right? I can completely understand why he said it and why he did what he did, because it's like he said, like, you try to cushion the blow as much as you can, or at least what you think you can anyway. But I just think that it's like, it seemed like it'd be one of them things. It affects him from the physical and the mental side of things, but also the girl. I would think that the girlfriend will be affected too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, oh, I want to be there for you. I want to help, and this, that, and the third. You know, people just naturally want to help. You know what I'm saying? But also, it's like that. Like she also, like, she knows that she can't really do much except for mentally, emotionally be there for you, and just be a woman that loves you and cares about you. And it's like, dawg, like, it seemed like no matter what you, but when I think about it, it seemed like one of those situations, like, no matter what you do, it seemed like it's gonna hurt regardless. It's just, she could at least be like, yo, I was there. You know what I'm saying? But ladies, let me know, what would you prefer? What would be your preference in this situation? Would you rather him keep you away from it, or would you rather be in the midst of it and, I guess, try to get your last little bit of time for what you, at least for what you know, at least? But anyway, let's bring it back.
The day before Joe died, I'd been sat with him at a pub, catching up, playing pool, cracking jokes. I'd often wondered if I'd have been hit less hard by his death if I'd been away at university when it happened. For my girlfriend's sake, I wanted her to have distance from me. I also felt ugly. I felt unlovable. I wasn't unable to communicate.
Okay.
And I didn't want her to see me like that.
I can get that.
I watched my mum look thinner and more frail every day that she had to watch her son deteriorate. And I felt immense guilt. My mum would often walk in and find me either crying on the bathroom or kitchen floor, having no energy to get back into bed. She'd often sit with me and massage my feet, which always hurt. And she'd hum melodies to me like she would do when I was a little boy. During this whole time, I hadn't picked up my guitar. I barely had any sunlight touch my skin, and I lost a lot of weight. I was about 130 pounds at my lowest, about 8 or 9 stone, which for someone who is 6'1" is very skinny. My average weight is usually about 168 pounds, 12 stone. Every day the same thing. I'd wake up in pain, eat a meal of blended vegetables and chicken, lie with my eyes closed for hours while the world seemed to spin erratically, and I'd often cry as the bones in my legs felt like they wanted to grow out and burst out of my skin. Despite this, what I didn't know is things were about to get a lot worse.
Oh, Lord.
Come June, I've been in bed for about 6 months straight. I've regained some energy to leave the house every now and then to go shopping for groceries with my mum, and I've finally reached my target for the fecal transplant, and my mum drove me to the clinic to get the procedure. Everything seemed to go as smoothly as it could for such a bizarre experience. I received a colonic irrigation, which was like a car wash for your colon. Actually feels pretty good. They then proceeded to put someone else's excrement in my behind. They would repeat this process for 5 consecutive days. When I got home, I realised I felt a little odd, almost manic, and I was hopeful that this meant my energy was coming back. But it wasn't a nice feeling. As the days progressed, I started to feel an innate sense that something was very wrong. It seemed my immune system was going into some sort of overdrive. My brain was buzzing, and the more time that passed, the more uncomfortable I felt. I remember early one morning, I was lying on the kitchen floor after attempting to get a glass of water. My body hurt so much that I was digging my nails into the laminate flooring, screaming, and my mum ran in and asked me what was wrong. I remember repeating, "I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go," over and over again. I felt myself falling down a deep tunnel in my mind, almost as though my entire soul was tumbling down into an abyss. When I finally crashed to the bottom, I was hit with this immense feeling of stillness and peace. I stopped crying, I sat up, and my mother looked at me, puzzled. I have not felt to this day that sort of serenity that I felt in that moment. I looked around the room and everything seemed to have gained a clarity and quality, but what was most peculiar was the feeling of stillness. There seemed to be some sort of respite from the mental torture and fog in my brain. I still to this day have no explanation for what happened. I looked at my mum, I smiled at her calmly, and I told her that everything was okay now. Her partner Michael came in, and I remember them both looking at me, perplexed. I started speaking fluidly for the first time in months, but it wasn't quite me. I was cracking jokes, being witty. My mum would laugh nervously. I remember feeling as though I was coming up off an ecstasy pill. I felt this underlying feeling of euphoria. I caught myself occasionally erratically snapping my fingers or making whistling noises in between sentences, or staring at some empty part of the room as though there was somebody there, then snapping back to the space and talking to my mum. This feeling of intense euphoria lasted about 48 hours. During this time, I'd adopted some newer strange behaviours. Everything in my room that wasn't parallel bothered me, so I had to make sure it was aligned and facing the same direction. The whistle and the finger click became a new tick, and it started rising in frequency the more time that elapsed. I also noticed that I get stuck on words or sentences when talking to my mum. For example, if I was saying a sentence like, "I'm not sure how I'm feeling today," I would sometimes get stuck on the whole sentence or just a word from it and repeat it about 30 or 40 times before I could move on to the next. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling today, feeling today, feeling today, 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 over and over.
The thought of going through that is mind-boggling. Like, I couldn't imagine like actually going through that. And then like, I think the thing about the stories and the chapters and all that makes it like, it kind of makes you be like, you went through all of that. And it's kind of like, it makes you want to hear more of the story, because it's like you see where he's at now, but then also you're learning about what he's been through. And it's like the thought of repeating the same word, like how you said today, 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 like that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Brother, look, stop playing with me. Stop playing.
Repeat it about 30 or 40 times before I could move on to the next. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling today, feeling today, feeling today, 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 over and over. I can't really explain why, but it's like saying it carved out a safe space for me. After about 2 days, that feeling of peace and euphoria was swapped out for a feeling of immense dread and doom. I felt fear fill my body, unlike any fear that I've ever felt. I'd often wake up in the early hours of the morning screaming at the top of my lungs, a torture scream that would fill the whole house, a scream like my legs were being sawn off. I felt pure terror. My mum would run in and try and calm me down. Sometimes I'd be thrashing, hitting the mattress, pounding the walls. It usually ended up in me exhausting myself and her stroking my head in her lap as I sobbed and repeated the same words over and over again. Everything in these moments terrified me. The compulsion to make everything parallel became a necessity. Whenever I was in the kitchen or car and the dials were facing the wrong way, it taunted me. My mum started taking me to a weekly talk therapist in hopes it would stop me from killing myself. I did catch myself researching the most painless ways to do it. I often daydreamed about death, and it made me feel at peace. At this point, intense paranoid delusions started creeping in. I wondered if what was happening to me was demonic. I don't remember how I got there, but I remember one time speaking on the landline to someone who claimed to be an expert in dark magic.
Oh, Lord.
He told me that being around my mum was bad for me. He told me that she was bad.
What? His mama been the main one helping him as far as like this chapter goes. All right, yeah, his mom is back. Okay, all right, that all right, yeah, yeah. The mom is the one that's been helping him through this process. Like she let him move back in, and she been taking care of him, and trying to aid him through this situation. And you gonna tell him, "Oh, your mom is bad, man." All right.
Happening to me was demonic.
All right.
I don't remember how I got there, but I remember one time speaking on the landline to someone who claimed to be an expert in dark magic. He told me that being around my mum was bad for me.
Man,
he told me that she was bad. He told me that I needed to do a ritual with black wax candles in order to free myself.
I'll show you black wax candles.
I remember ordering black candles from eBay, and when they arrived, I had a change of heart, and I decided against doing this dark magic ritual.
Amen. I
fell asleep that night, and I woke up the next day to find the candles totally melted onto the white mantelpiece that they were on. They'd never been lit. I still don't really know for certain if anything of these things happened, but the melted wax was definitely real. I remember picking it off with my nails. There were moments that my rational mind knew that I was hallucinating. Sometimes in the night I would hear perfect string quartet symphonies with no sound source for them to be coming from. I remember one time my mum took me with her to the post office because during this time I'd rarely been left in the house alone. I remember the lady behind the till reaching for some sellotape. As she tugged on the tape, it sounded as though it had been amplified 1,000 times. It was deafeningly loud. I ran out of the store crying and shaking, and I sat in the passenger seat of my mum's car, rocking back and forth, where she found me uncontrollably sobbing, repeating the words, I can't, over and over again. My paranoia grew. I boomeranged between thinking I may have been latched onto by some demonic entity, and I became suspicious of even my own family, to thinking I might be part of some sort of twisted experiment, where a group of observers were seeing how far they could push me before I snapped and shattered. My irrational mind concluded that if I start behaving in unexpected ways, I might confuse the people conducting this experiment, and they'd shut it down. I'd sit in my own bed manically grinning in response to the jolt of pain in my legs. I'd say things to Mum and Michael which made no sense at all. This all seemed to be leading up to a very unusual day. I can't quite recall the details of how it happened because it was quite tricky to tell what was reality and what was not. But from what I remember, I was in the car with my mum, parked outside a supermarket, and I'd put my laptop on the roof of the car while I'd helped her with groceries. I'd forgotten it was there and she drove off. It wasn't until about an hour later I noticed and I started panicking. My laptop had on it hundreds of songs from my time in Brighton. It was all I had really to show for my life. I was already in such an emotionally fragile space that losing that felt like some sick, torturous joke. We drove back and searched every place it could be with no luck. As we were driving home, my mum pulled up at a junction and something in me snapped. I got out of the car and I ran away from it. I convinced myself this was still part of the experiment, because what else could explain that sort of luck? Once I got far enough away, I proceeded to strip off all my clothes, and I lay in the middle of a road staring up at the sky, laughing in hysterics. This was the opposite of how one should react to losing their computer, and so it seemed like the perfect way to confuse my observers. With time, the police showed up, as did my mother. By some miracle, she convinced them not to take me in or section me, and by a further miracle, they also relayed to my mum that a dented laptop had been handed in an hour earlier. I took this as meaning my experiment had worked. I eventually snuck off as my mum was talking to them. I wandered slowly around this unfamiliar village until I encountered the second angel I would meet in my life, this time in the form of a black homeless man. I'm not sure how we got there, but as I was walking, I turned to my side and a man dressed in tattered grey clothes was walking beside me. He asked me what was wrong, and I explained the best I could the events of the day. I explained that I'd been sick a very long time, that I was tired, so tired, and that I just wanted to be better. The homeless man paused. He put his hand on my shoulders, and he stared into my eyes. His eyes had a light grey tint. They were almost white, and something about his presence made me feel incredibly safe. incredibly still. He smiled, a kind smile, and he said to me, "Everything's going to be okay, Ren." And then he vanished. I hadn't told him my name.
I was about to ask that because I was like, how did he know his name? Did he tell him his name and I just missed that part? Okay. All right. Hold on. We're gonna play it again. We're gonna play it again.
His eyes had a light grey tint. They were almost white. And something about his presence made me feel incredibly safe, incredibly still. He smiled, a kind smile, and he said to me, "Everything's going to be okay, Ren." And then he vanished. I hadn't told him my name.
Crazy.
I never hallucinated anything after that day. I have no real explanation for that day. I chalk it down to a psychotic episode or stress-induced hallucination, but the events which follow put a lot of questions in my mind. What he said to me was very simple, but also very needed. I realise a lot of people might hear these stories and just presume I'm a bit mad, a bit weird, like I do when people tell me their ghost stories. All I can do is tell you my experience and let you derive your own conclusions from it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I got home and I started to obsessively research ways to escape this new seemingly psychotic space I was in. It's a strange thing to describe, but it was like me, Ren, was in the passenger seat of my mind while some other entity was steering the ship. I was watching myself do things like scream at night or repeat words over and over, and I think to myself, damn, that's pretty crazy. But I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Every now and then I had moments of lucidity where I was more in control. I was doing things like stimming. I had night terrors, vocal tics. I'd stutter and I'd stammer.
What is what is it? What was it? Stimming? Stimming, yeah, stimming. What is that? Any of y'all know what that is? I know somebody know. Somebody put in the comment section what that is, because I do not know what that is.
But I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Every now and then I had moments of lucidity where I was more in control. I was doing things like stimming. I had night terrors, vocal tics. I'd stutter and I'd stammer. And for me, a lot of that lined up with some sort of transitory or stress-induced autism. I'd known a family with an autistic teenager and some of the behaviours seemed to line up, which led me to a new pathway of online research. I came across this support group for a subset of children with autism called PANDAS, P-A-N-D-A-S. It was believed that these kids had the neurological infection of the Streptococcus bacteria that was causing these autistic-like behaviours. I was presenting with some similar behaviours. These kids would do long courses of antibiotics and their symptoms would diminish or disappear, and they'd be seemingly normal children again. I speculated that the fecal transplant introduced a whole host of new bacteria into my gut, but that I didn't have the immune regulation to be able to control it, and it had sent my entire system into some sort of inflammation overdrive. I researched the most effective antibiotic for Streptococcus, one being penicillin, and I convinced my mum to take me to the doctor, where I faked a stomach bug. I lied to him, and I said I'd had similar things in the past, and the penicillin cleared it right up. He reluctantly prescribed me a 2-week course of antibiotics because I was so persistent. I got home and I started the course. Initially I felt fucking awful, somehow even more tired than usual, and then towards the end of the course I noticed a definite shift in my energy and comfort. By the end of the course, my psychotic behaviours had disappeared and my energy felt a lot better. I stayed indefinitely on various herbal antibiotic supplements like oregano oil at this time, having learned that this was also active against certain pathogenic bacteria. Keep in mind also, I'm just going off script right now, keep in mind if I'd have followed the advice of most of the doctors that I'd seen at the time who were talking to me about my psychotic behaviours, I would have probably been put into a mental facility and medicated with medication that I didn't need and would have probably gotten a lot worse. So
it was funny because I was just talking to my barber about something similar, like how folks will prescribe you things that you don't necessarily need, but it's like the medical field is like such a money grab, and it's like one of the things, as one of my issues with the states is like the whole like insurance process. I'm not really too fond of it. I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not. And then it's like medical bills are so expensive. Like they're so expensive. Like I got a bill that I'm struggling with right now, and it's just like, bruh, like, how am I supposed to pay all this? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, especially like it's just a lot. And it's like, I remember also, I think I talked about this before about, I remember when I was going to this neurologist because of a seizure I had, like when I was 17, I think at the time. And they wanted me to take meds till I was 21. And then they were like, okay, well, we see this, so we're going to have you take it till you're 30. And I was like, after a while, I just stopped taking it because it's like I had a seizure years ago and I haven't had one since. Why am I still taking this? Like, why do you still want me to take this? And then I also Googled like the side effects for it, and I saw like memory loss was one of them. And like I started getting like this like when I got off of it, like I remember like this twitch I was dealing with or something like that. But it was just like that whole process was just like it was one thing that also I didn't really like. It was like the neurologist kind of made me feel like, because I couldn't solve a specific math problem he would throw at me off the top of my head, it kind of made me feel a little like stupid. And it was like, so because I can't solve a problem, it's like, yo, like it's like, it kind of made me feel like you was kind of like playing on my intelligence a little bit. And then I ain't gonna lie, at the time, like a family member didn't really make me feel any better about it. And it kind of made me feel like, you needed the calculator, da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not like that with math. Like I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not good at math like that. But it was just like, it was just a weird experience for me, and it kind of like, it made me not necessarily question doctors 100%, but just kind of like, it made me pay attention more, and it kind of made me pay attention to like, okay, what is your heart like versus just being like, how smart are you? Because there's doctors that are smart but don't have a heart for people. But then like I started meeting other doctors and I'm like, okay, I like the heart of you. You have the knowledge already. We already know that. But like the fact that you have the heart for people is the thing that's going to keep me with you. Because I trust what you're saying more so. I trust more so the heart that you have, because you care about me and you want to see me better. You want to see me do better. You don't want to see me fall out in the middle of the street. So it's like, for me, it's like, it's crazy how like certain doctors will, what's the word I'm looking for? Certain doctors will prescribe you stuff you don't need because it's a money grab. And it's always going to be people coming in and out of doctors' offices, coming out of hospitals, clinics, so on and so forth. And it's like, it makes me wonder, I'm like, I genuinely believe, you can call me crazy if you want, but I genuinely think that there are a lot of cures out there, but they just won't give them to us. I genuinely think that. That's genuinely how I look at it. But anyway, we're going to continue. It just got me to thinking, though.
That I'd seen at the time, who were talking to me about my psychotic behaviors, I would have probably been put into a mental facility and medicated with medication that I didn't need, and would have probably gotten a lot worse. So it was very lucky that I took like, no one tells you that antibiotics can treat psychosis, and these antibiotics did actually treat my psychosis. And I was no stranger to the placebo effect. I'd taken everything, it wasn't placebo. It didn't matter. After about a week, I'd finished the course, and some of my more familiar symptoms like fatigue and pain started creeping back again. But that didn't matter, because what this whole experience had taught me was that the origin of my sickness was in fact bacterial, and it was pathogenic. The biggest thing it taught me was I could actually do something about it. I was no stranger to the placebo effect after years of trialing different drugs and supplements. This wasn't placebo. I took to the internet again and found a world-renowned specialist over in Brussels who was also leading a lot of the cutting-edge research for ME. I got on the phone and made an appointment. He was booked up for the next 9 months, but that gave me enough time to save money. The antibiotics and new herbs I was taking had also given me a new lease of life, and the hope for a cure made me more determined than ever. I started having enough energy to go on walks, which was huge for me at the time. My dad would drive over to my mum's and we'd go out in the car and I'd take photos of wildlife on beaches. I was picking up my guitar again after months in bed. I eventually invited my girlfriend over and made the decision to move back to Brighton as soon as I was strong enough to.
That's dope. That's really dope.
It was around this time that I started working on the album Freckled Angels. I knew that the future tests weren't going to be cheap. I pulled together some old tracks from the days I was working with Sony, and I got hold of Eric and asked his permission to release them, which he graciously granted, so thank you, Eric. I then pulled together some newer material and compiled my first ever album from my bedroom. In those days, I had no real way of promoting myself and no energy to do shows, so it was mostly to be listened to by my friends and family. I named the album Freckled Angels after Joe. Joe was covered head to toe in freckles, and it seemed fitting to dedicate this work to one of the coolest and funniest people I ever knew. Any ounce of energy I did have from my limited reserves, I'd pour into recording that album. It's by no means a work of art, and it's a bit thematically disjointed, but some songs like Crutch or Pocket Full of Pain went a long way to photographing that time. I'ma leave you with a recording of Pocket Full of Pain. Back in those days. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Cool.
I'm really enjoying these things, though. Throwback. All right, guitar.
I watch the sun when it rises, when it's climbing the sky. I sit here with the pocket full of pain. I've got tears in my juice, in my mind. There's a noose, but my hope makes me cling to the day. I wanna run with the sun and the moon and the stars till I'm running faster than my pain. I wish I could breathe out this fear, this doubt, send it into the Milky Way. I got my finger on the trigger of a Magnum 44, but survival instinct won't let me bleed. I wanna put a bullet straight in my cerebral tissues place, but my index finger won't let me squeeze. I wanna skate down my vein with the blade till the blood runs thicker than the thoughts in my head. But don't ask me why, this is not my goodbye, it's a suicide failure attempt.
I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he didn't succeed with it, because when you, again, like, the more that I learn about dude, and it's like, it's more of like, okay, I didn't necessarily go through everything that you went through line by line, precept on precept, but it's certain things that I'm like, okay, I get the feeling for that. I get the feeling for the, you know what I'm saying, the thing, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, the thought of like wanting to like skadoosh yourself, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's crazy how many of us have gone through the same things. It's interesting. It's really interesting, like, how similar we are. It's like, no matter what you look like, no matter what faith or whatever it is that you believe in, we all have similar walks. We all have similar things that we've been through, similar things that we've felt, similar things that we've done. And it's like, it's one of those things, it's like, one thing that I gather from just like the Ren videos and stuff like that, especially like this, it's like, if we spent more time relating instead of trying to be like, oh, I'm different here, this, like, you know, trying to find a way to separate, I think a lot of things would be easier for us as a people. But that's just what I think. We're gonna bring it back because we almost done.
I wish I could breathe out this fear, this doubt, send it into the Milky Way. I got my finger on the trigger of a Magnum 44, but survival instinct won't let me bleed. I wanna put a bullet straight in my cerebral tissues place, but my index finger won't let me squeeze. I wanna skate down my vein with the blade till the blood runs thicker than the thoughts in my head. But don't ask me why, this is not my goodbye, it's a suicide failure attempt. I choose life, I choose life, I choose living. Put the bottles and the pills down. I stand up, I breathe with precision. Calm washes over me like a break in the storm. I close my eyes for a minute, then my troubles transform. And I travel deep into the corners of my mind. I remember the first time I felt hopeless. I think I was 5, cause at the hands of this bully, the lessons that I learned is that this world is not so beautiful. Sometimes it can be burnt by the fires of evil.
Oh, he went there on me. He got bullied too. I get it. I think the thing that made me really upset about it, because like the more that I learned about why I got bullied, I think the thing for me was I was mad because I was bullied for something that I had nothing to do with, but because of somebody that I was around. And then it was like, because I was just talking to my dad about it, it was like, though, like I got bullied for something that I didn't even do, or I didn't even have a hand in, didn't even know was going on. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, by the time I found out, we had already gone on to like high school, and it's like, now I find out, like, I wish I would have known that. I could have said like, yo, like I had nothing to do with that. I don't know why folks was, well, then again, because I was around him all the time, but it was like, dang, like, so because my friend at the time did that to y'all, and then he ended up leaving. So when he switched schools, I had to take all the heat that he didn't take, but he ended up getting some heat at the other school he went to because of stuff he was doing, which is interesting how, you know, you're reaping what you sow, karma, whatever you want to call it, works. You know what I'm saying? And then also my bully ended up getting twice what he tried to get me with. He used to beat me up. I ain't gonna lie, he used to beat me up, but he ended up getting beat up by 2 girls and a dude. I'll pick which one would you rather get? Yeah, I personally would rather just get hit by one person and made fun of by one person than get beat up by 2 girls and a dude. That's just me. But actually, I prefer neither one. But anyway.
Washes over me like a break in the storm. I close my eyes for a minute, then my troubles transform. And I travel deep into the corners of my mind. I remember the first time I felt hopeless. I think I was 5, cause at the hands of this bully, the lessons that I learned is that this world is not so beautiful. Sometimes it can be burnt by the fires of evil that are living inside the common people just like you and like I. We'll all strive to survive, and we all climb to the top over our brothers and sisters, whether we mean to or not. And we get lost in the tide of insecurities and power-seeking fooleries, but happiness don't live inside no jewelleries. In an age of distraction, we would rather tap on our iPhones than stop a war from happening. It's heartbreaking, Satan's patiently waiting for us to mess up big time, so hell on earth will be blatant. So forgive me for wanting to blow my brains out, but I've got a change of heart. It's time for change now, rearrange now, fist in the sky. I say proud, say loud, revolution word on my brain now. It's with the people, yeah, power's with the people. If the people strive for unity, the world it could be equal. You could be the start of the beginning, a dawn of no stress, no troubles, no sinning, just living. So overthrow evil and greed, put aside your distractions, welcome change with me, 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 now welcome change with me, now welcome change, welcome change with me.
Hey, hey,
Yeah.
Welcome change with me. Hey,
Da 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 do.
la da da do. Boom, boom, boom. Hey. All right, y'all. That's the end of that vid. Also, again, I'm working through a playlist of stuff that I'm supposed to react to today. But anyway, dog, I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me was well, matter of fact, no, it was a few things. That dark magic thing, yeah, stuff it. Talking about his mama was bad. Like, what are you talking about? How is his mama bad? His mama was the main one helping him. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? His mama was there through everything he was dealing with at that point in time. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense at all. But it's also interesting, again, like I was saying, like, there's so many ways that we relate. If we spent less time trying to separate, I think if we spend more time trying to relate, things would be a lot easier. Ooh, excuse me. But also, like, because, like, he got bullied. also like the skadooshing yourself thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting seeing like how so many people have been in that space, you know what I'm saying? Especially like artists, and then just everyday people. It's like, it's crazy how that works out, you know what I'm saying? And also the bullying thing, I can relate to that because I went through it. Didn't like it at all. Mess was annoying as I don't know what, but you overcome, you live, and you get better, and the anger starts to subside, and so on and so forth. And it's like, I think the biggest thing also when he said, it was something about the like how he welcome the change, and it was something else. Let me go back so I can. There we go. It was where was it?
Not so beautiful. Sometimes it can.
Where is it?
If I choose life, I choose living. Put the bottles and the pills down. I stand.
Yeah. He said he choose life. He choose. What was it? I choose life and what?
I choose life, I choose life, I choose living. Put the bottles and the pills down. I stand up, I breathe with precision. Calm washes.
Yeah, like choose life. Like no matter what's going on, choose life, because it's like ultimately this too shall pass. Like all this stuff will pass, and like how the homeless man told him everything was gonna be okay, Ren, even though he never told him his name. You know what I'm saying? Interesting how that works. But it's just like what I get from this from bro's story in these different chapters that we've been going through is I get a lot of hope from it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, like you seeing what he's gone through and then seeing where he's at. It's like it's a story of hope for me. You know what I'm saying? And like, believe what you want, and this is just for me personally. It's like it really shows me what God can do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it's just so much like through all of that. It's like through the dark magic, the weird therapist, the ups and the downs mentally, the girlfriends, the losing the friends, and everything. It's like the fact that he's still here, and it's like the fact that he overcame himself. It's like, because even through all of this stuff, like you still have, it's like you overcoming the sickness, but the biggest thing for me was you overcame yourself as a, because it's like the mental turmoil you're going through, so on and so forth, like wanting to like he said he wanted to skadoosh himself and get himself up out of here, and then like, but he chose life. It's like everything is a choice. It's like you chose life, you chose change, you wanted to do better, and then now you're where you are. And it's like, imagine if he didn't choose life. Imagine what would have happened. We wouldn't have the artists whose music we all enjoy, and the personality and so on and so forth that we enjoy now. So whatever anybody's going through, like, choose life no matter what. No matter what it looks like, choose life. Choose life, bro. Choose life, sis. Like, choose life. Like, choose life no matter what you got going on. This too shall pass. It will pass. But you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong. Even if it means being around people, go to therapy, pray, whatever it is that you do, like whatever it is that your faith system is, like pray, stay strong, faith it through, speak life over your situation. That's something that I really started to learn within like the last month, is speak life over your situation. Speak life into your situation. Like say like, yo, like even though it might not look a certain way, like speak, you have life and death is in the power of the tongue. Speak life over that. Speak life over your situation. Speak good things over your situation. It might not look good right now, but say like, yo, like it might not be good right now, but this will get better. Like tell yourself it will get better. Speak it. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. But I'm thinking about it here, y'all. Peace easy, baby. Lay ya and stay strong, baby.